Good morning, everyone, and I am Badri Narayanan, talking from the center. Um, so, welcome for the live chat for GTAP 7 database. Before we start the particular questions, I'd like to give a brief overview of the database. Those who don't have a microphone, you can just type in your questions and I'll try to answer your questions. So GTAP 7 database has a reference year of 2004 and it has 113 regions and 57 commodities. I hope you all had a look at the PowerPoint presentation that Ginger has sent to all of you. The main additions and improvements in this database are in terms of regions, in terms of bilateral services data, and some improvements in domestic support data and energy data. We have added 21 new regions and 34 regions have been updated, and the main additions and improvements are in Latin America, Africa, Europe and Southeast Asia. And in terms of bilateral services data, we have got some improvements in OECD services trade from CPB, and in the protection data we have substantial improvements in domestic support data for OECD countries. We have separate data for crop specific payments and activity generic payments and the payments that are specific for certain groups. So that's an improvement in the domestic support data. And we have also updated the value added shares, the capital and labor shares in the production, agricultural production. And we have made some improvements in energy data. So I think these are just the overall changes that happened in GTAP 7 database. I won't take any more time explaining these things, so I'll be happy to answer your questions. We also have Robert McDougall, Thomas Hertel and Terry Wamsley here, so you can start asking your questions. Thank you. So Andrew Larson, you had a question. So they said they heard, they're hearing.
Talk?
Yeah. Who is this?
which was Regina. I missed the first one. Regina, do you want to talk first?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Hello?
hear you, Regina.
Okay, great. So I have a question concerning the I/O data of India, because as far as I could see, the I/O data of India was not updated in GTAP 7 for its of 1993. So my question is, do you think this is a problem? Because I did a lot of comparisons of more recent I/O data, and since this fastly developing regions have highly changing consumption patterns, especially in energy and agriculture, we think that this is a big problem for these regions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Regina.
Like me to take
Yeah,
that one?
Terry, would you like to answer that? Yeah, thank you.
Well, I guess first of all, a lot of the I/O tables generally are only produced on a 10-year basis, so a lot of the countries' initial I/O tables are based on years that aren't necessarily the base year for the database, 2004. We do quite a bit of updating in-house, but you're quite right, the shares remain pretty much the same as what they are in the standard I/O table. I guess in the case of India, we do generally receive quite regular contributions, and I know that the group in India are interested in updating the India I/O table for the next version. But unfortunately, that's at the moment all we have been given. But as I said, we do update it for the most recent macro data and trade data. Perhaps Rob wants to say something else, or Badri.
Well, I'm being asked to say something about the energy data, but the story there is just that the energy usage patterns, along with the trade, are things that we derive from other international data sources, and so there too what you get in the GTAP database is not what's in the I/O table for whichever year the I/O table was prepared for, but what is in some international data collection, largely International Energy Agency data for the GTAP database reference year.
Yeah, also the protection data is updated for 2004, and also the value-added shares have been updated in 2004 for GTAP 7 database. So the only thing that's not updated is the input-output shares.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm still learning all the technology. I just wanted to make the comment that some people have actually looked at the input-output shares, and they've looked at this over a long period of time, say 50 years for the United States. And one thing you see is that the shares on a value basis change much more slowly than, say, some of the underlying quantity shares, and we're working on a value.
Tom, we can't hear you now.
Okay, is that coming through now? Can you hear me, Rob, online? Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Somehow my computer censored whatever I was saying. Value shares in the input-output data, which are what we're really working from. So we're working. We're talking about not tons of food consumed, but the share of consumer expenditure. What did you click, Badri? It's coming back. Okay. I'm hearing my own voice is the problem. Okay. Okay. I wonder if I'm getting it through Rob's.
Okay. Yeah, Rob, you want to say something? You want? Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, Rob is responding. He's typing.
Should I try and talk again?
Yeah, you can talk. Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't sound like we can, or I can hear Tom. I can't hear Tom. I can hear Badri. Did Vin have a question?
Didn't actually, yeah. Typed, not spoken.
So does anyone know that question?
I'm typing an answer now.
Terry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now, Tom. Go.
Okay. So while Rob's typing, I'll respond as well. So I was attempting earlier on to make the point that the value shares in the input-output table tend to change relatively slowly. So if you think about U.S. food consumption, the tons of food consumption have changed a lot over the last 10 years, but the share of food consumption in total expenditure has changed relatively little. So when we build the database, rely on this fact that the shares are likely to change relatively little. The fact that we're imposing current trade data on the database, 2004, does imply that these shares do need to adjust. So if there have been dramatic changes in the economy, there'll have to be some changes there. Okay, I'll stop there.
Yeah.
Regina just typed in, yeah, energy goods, energy shares change a lot, and
Yeah.
so that'll be I'd like Rob to respond to that point about the energy targeting, because we do target current energy data from the IEA.
So we can hold that whole talk there. So
All the time now, anyway.
Okay.
This question could mean a few different things.
no, he hasn't. No, Rob, we can't hear you. You can just click that. No, there, I think. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Regina's question, this could mean a few different things, but if we're talking about, say, the overall levels of energy usage in an economy, then we don't keep what's in the initial input-output table, but we adjust that to reflect the IEA data. So economy-wide, we should get the right level of energy usage for each of the GTAP energy commodities. And even below that, from the IEA's detailed energy balances, we get energy usage for groups of GTAP commodities. For instance, energy usage in agriculture. So not all the way down to the GTAP energy level, but still to for about 20 industries and for private consumption. We are adjusting to meet the IEA's energy usage profile.
Antimiani Velasquez, you had a question? William Rooster? Yeah.
Nick, would you mind
and
typing your question? I think it would be best if everyone typed their question to everybody, because I'm not sure what
Yeah.
Antiamani's question is.
Yeah, even I couldn't hear your question.
Then we may be able to pick them in order and answer them as much as possible. And Tom, I'm afraid I can't hear you at all.
Some voice going if there are general points to make. I don't know whether. Okay. Like you guys be talking.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, there's something in the background.
If you guys start typing with big silences, then I think it's kind of disappears. You might consider.
Yeah, because we are getting questions, so I think it's yeah.
last 20? What's this last 22? Do you know?
Hello, can you hear me? Regarding the slide 22 of Terry's presentation, it's something about our the input-output tables that we receive as contributions for GTAP database. In future, we plan to adopt the standard systems of national accounts to develop some alternative formats so that the contribution is easy. So right now we have a tech paper which explains the format in which the IO table has to be contributed. So this is more to do with our in-house database production than something to do with the IO analysis. It's more to do with, yeah. So Terry, would you like to add anything?
Sorry, it's also related to the fact that we should be looking, yeah.
Terry, we couldn't hear you now.
Okay, I'm not sure if my microphone went off previously, but when we talk about adopting standard SNA, we're talking about we're talking more about in terms of putting a new methodology where people can contribute SAMs, and in that line we've been told that we perhaps should learn to talk a little bit more the SNA language. Just looking through one of the other questions, what is the normal procedure to extract an IO table out of the database or the HAR file? So once the GTAP database is produced, if you're interested in taking out a SAM, we have a SAM extraction program that will remove a SAM from the from the GTAP database. That's done through a technical paper on the GTAP website. If you want to extract an I/O table, I believe I can probably find the link on the contributors I/O table website. There's a table which shows you how the GTAP database can be changed into an I/O table structure. And I'll have a look for the email for that. I'll let some of the other people answer some of the other questions. Okay,
Yeah.
what is the benefit to the sorry. Go on.
The benefit to the contributor, he receives the full GTAP database, that particular version, free of cost. And I'll try to answer Antimiani's question. Yeah, it's the taxes and subsidies for agriculture for EU member countries. It's we get the aggregate data from OECD, but there is a contributor who can you hear me? Who?
I can hear you,
Yeah.
Audrey.
Okay. So Antimiani can't hear me. Okay, I'll type it. Yeah, I think some people are not able to hear properly, so So I think I'll just type the answers. So how many of you? Okay, now Auntie Mani can hear me. Okay, yeah, Auntie Mani, I think you asked two questions. The first question was about whether this domestic support data is after full implementation of 2003 reform. No, it's not. It doesn't consider the implementation of 2003 reform. So all the features of GTAP database, it doesn't. No feature considers any future possibility. So it's all the data that's available for the particular year 2004. So this TF for agriculture in EU 27 member countries it's just for 2004 without the 2003 reform. I think that's clear now. And your second question was about yeah, I think I've answered that question. We do get EU member country data for all the member countries. Yeah, I think you're saying something else. Yeah, I'll talk more about that domestic support. Yeah. So what we did in GTAP 7 database is two different things. One is for the OECD countries, non-EU OECD countries. We got data on crop specific and crop generic payments. But for EU member countries, the individual member countries, we didn't get that data. So what we did was to account for the fact that most of the payments are more or less equal. They are not crop specific, they are general for all the crops. What we did was to equalize the shares of factor payments across the crop sectors. So you are right, TF is same in one country for all the commodities. You are right. So yeah, so we had to do this because we didn't have this yeah, right, it's full decoupling, and we didn't have the data for the data that we had for non-EU OECD member countries. That's for we didn't have data for separately for crop specific and crop generic payments. So we thought this would be a better treatment than assuming that all the payments are crop specific. Yeah, Roberto.
Rehab and Wilhelm's questions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Roberto Telleria is asking about domestic support data for Latin American countries. For Mexico, we get data from OECD for domestic support data. For the other countries, we don't have any specific data source for domestic support. So the only source for this is the IO table. Whatever domestic support data exists in the IO table, that's used for the domestic support data for Latin American countries. Rehab Osman.
Raising their hand. Yeah. Do they want to type their question?
Yeah, Antimiani, you're right. OECD doesn't give us data for all the members of EU25, but we get data from a contributor in Denmark on country level domestic support data. So we do not assume equal rates across the countries in EU. Yeah, thank you. I think William Roster had a question, I suppose, and Rehab Osman. So I hope we are answering all the questions. If we miss something, please remind us. Din has the question about numeraire. Yeah, you're right. PFACT world is numeraire. Yeah. Yeah, so we have a short course in Bangkok in August. I think the date is 8th August 8th to 15th, I suppose. Let me check it. Yeah, 8th to 14th August 2009. So please see this the link I'm just posting. So the application deadline is February 22nd for the short course. Yeah, I'll try to answer Rehab Osman's question. Yeah, we haven't updated the trade elasticities data this time. So these elasticities are based on literature, and we always look for an opportunity to update them using the literature. We had done this for another example for the features of data that's updated using literature is the agricultural value added shares. that we have updated this time, but trade elasticities we haven't done this time. So maybe in version 8 we can think about it. Yeah, I think Tom would like to say something about this. Yeah, I think Din had asked about the license of the program before. I think I'm not sure what program he meant exactly, but we when a contributor when a person contributes the data for a country's IO table, he gets the full GTAP database of that version, including the license to aggregate it to any level. And he is yeah, Anti-Mianai's question about weighting of tariff, we use trade weighting. Yeah, it's GTAP AG license. By license I meant GTAP AG license for the contributors. Yeah, Tom hasn't started talking. I think he'll be talking shortly.
I'm not sure we can hear Tom.
Can you hear me now?
Very good, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's having a little trouble with the technology. I was able to talk, and then maybe I clicked in the wrong place or something, or maybe it just didn't want to hear me. I wanted to address the question of trade elasticities briefly and elasticities more generally. So there is actually a published study. The trade elasticities in GTAP have been estimated econometrically using international cross-section data circa 2000. and this is based on imports into about 8 different countries at a highly disaggregate level. The estimates are pooled and the parameters are restricted to be the same within the GTAP categories. So we're looking at trade data at a very disaggregate level, restricting the trade elasticities to be constant within the category, the GTAP category, say motor vehicles or coarse grains, and those are reported in a journal article that's been published. It takes actually quite a bit of effort to estimate elasticities, and we treat them as being somewhat independent of time, whereas you might update data and shares as frequently as possible. The elasticities, this behavioral response, how much imports, the sourcing of imports respond to changes in relative prices, we view that as being somewhat invariant over time, and that's why it's given, these elasticities are parameters in the model. They don't change when everything else changes. So the other elasticities that we spend some time estimating are the consumer demand elasticities. Beyond those two sets of elasticities, the elasticities in the GTAP database, in the GTAP parameter file, are taken from the literature. So as we get more updated information, we try to bring that to bear. But it's not trivial to estimate elasticities, and this goes, comprehensive estimates of these elasticities goes well beyond the work we can do at the center. We really encourage others to contribute here. It's a very important area of work. I'll stop there.
Yeah, it's about didn't question to Tom Huttle. Um, the elasticities need not vary from version to version. Yeah, in fact, in version 7 we haven't changed the trade elasticities.
question and answering.
Yeah. Yeah, so can all of you hear me? Hello? Okay. Okay, that's good. So I'll answer Din's question about. Okay, it seems everyone is hearing. So Din's question was about 2007. So if you have, for example, you have data on um, tariff and other policy variables for 2007, and you want to update the data for 2007, then you can just use alter tax simulation um, to change your database to 2007 for most of the variables. You can also do it for output any variable for which you have data. The only thing you cannot change is the input output structure. All the other things you can change for 2007. Yeah. So I hope I answered Din's question. I think Tom also wants to answer it.
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Yeah, the update question is an interesting one, and it's one that people wrestle with a lot. As Terry just pointed out, alter tax is designed to alter the tax or subsidy data in a given year if you don't like the data or if you think you have better data. So generally, if you're doing a study on a particular country or particular sector, you're going to be able to come up with better estimates if you devote a lot of time to it than we have in the GTAP database, because we're doing all sectors and all regions. We'll never do as good a job as you can do for your country if you put more effort into it. So it's a starting point, but we often recommend using alter tax to to change, say, the 2004 data for a given sector in a given country. If you want to actually go to a new base year where a lot of things have changed, you probably want to do that through a normal model simulation. So one thing, for example, that we did a lot in our analyses of the Doha development agenda, we were working with 2001 data at the time. At that point, say 2005, the Uruguay round had been completed. Many things had changed in terms of the trade and protection data, so we typically did a pre-simulation, and that pre-simulation was designed to update the 2001 protection data to 2005, reflecting China's accession to the WTO, a number of other things. So we did the pre-simulation, generated a 2005 database which reflected the new protection data. We didn't try to update everything about the economy. We updated only the things we thought were most important. And then we used that 2005 updated database to begin the simulation. So if you use Run GTAP, for example, you'll find once you've done a simulation, it's quite easy to create a new version based on the updated data. And that's exactly what you would do here. You do a simulation first to update the protection data, reflect the changes that the model thinks would have happened in trade flows over that period, take the updated data, and then begin your Doha analysis or whatever else you're doing. So you can also shock things, anything that's exogenous in the model. In addition to the policies, you could shock population, labor force, and capital stock, and so on. And people sometimes do that to do a comparative static update from, say, 2004 to 2020, or 2004 to 2010, or 2004 to 2008. So it all depends on having those exogenous changes in hand. Thank you. That's it. Just responding to one of the questions here about alter tax and whether you need to have run GTAP to use that. You don't. Yeah, sorry for the talking. Maybe some people like the talking, maybe they don't, but I can't seem to send a message to everyone. It's not working on my screen, so I'll just respond verbally to this. Alter tax is really just a set of parameter settings. We take the standard model and we change the parameters and change the closure in order to, with the goal of seeking to preserve all of the value shares. So you could think of it as a grand Cobb-Douglas model of the global economy, provided the total expenditure at the top doesn't change. You get offsetting changes in prices and quantities as you move down through the system. So it's seeking to keep the value flows constant but change the price and quantity indices in response to these changes in protection. I think there's a tech paper on alter tax on the website you can look at, so you can certainly do this in GAMS as well. That's it.
Yeah. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Oh, okay. That's good. So Yeah, thank you very much for coming online, and apologies for the issues with technology, because we couldn't talk throughout the session. I think we'll stop at this stage, and this whole session will be posted in the website, and you will be mailed the link for the same. And I think there are some more questions. Okay, we have 5 more minutes. I'll try to answer these questions. Rehab Osman's question about labor splits. I think in the documentation there is a chapter on this. I think in version, I can send you the link later on. And about technical change, there are these are just changes that you shock in the simulations. You can find the tax, all the tax parameters in the tax file, GTAX file, GSD tax file. I'm not sure the. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I think we are now. It's now time to end this session. You can always send your queries to GTAP L, and you can mail us personally, and we can answer your queries by email too. So again, thank you very much for coming online. For the next 3-4 minutes, we'll just try to answer the remaining questions. Yeah, the name of the file is. Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you very much.